Going on. Recently there has been this kind of thing going on, this triple E, this thing where these mesquites are American people. So far, there's been about a handful, and the numbers are growing by the day and the night. But anyway, because of this, they're saying like don't go out at night because to avoid the plague. This is over on the other side of the state too, more towards Chicago, over I think it's Lake Michigan. And what I find is really odd about this is that recently also there was like these genetically modded mosquitoes released in Venezuela. And there's also been fires in Venezuela too, dude. Freaking, it's like the same kind of events here, and this is just kind of becoming widespread. And it is actually a plan of war in this thing called gray terrorism. I mean, you can research that. I'm not going to explain it all, but and it's basically a way to bog up infrastructure in a not a covert, asymmetrical kind of warfare thing. And what's weird is like, look, mosquitoes are out in the daytime too, so it's kind of like I almost feel like it's don't let a good crisis go to waste kind of a thing, to see if they can trick people into, like, kind of like when like back in the or when Jack the Ripper was running through Whitechapel, right? Everyone started going in real early, and frickin' they were like afraid to come out of their houses. And there would be scientific data to be retrieved from such a suggestion. You know what I'm saying? It's like to see what the effect is of the media on real time, real people type situations, to test people's gullibility. And I just kind of seen that it was kind of like it's like you really can't avoid freaking mosquitoes any time of the day. And I mean, yeah, they are kind of more. There's more of them at night, but they're out in the day too. Freaking definitely in the morning and in the evening, depending on the weather. If it's a cloudy, wet day, they'll probably be out all the time anyway. Like you got to go just step off where there's bush. But I mean, I haven't heard anyone even. But then again, I ain't even heard about it. I just heard all this from people's like from word of mouth about this triple E. Like everyone's like, oh, they're so scared for me because they know that they know how I roll. You know what I'm saying? And they're like warning me because I'm outside a lot. You know, I'm out there running through the woods, looking for mounds and rock formations and stuff like that, and boggering. So it's kind of like, I understand, I appreciate it, but I don't know, man. I don't want to live in fear. You know what I'm saying? And we do live in fearful times, believe that. Like there's supposedly, like, I bought kayaks, right? So I could start to navigate waterways. And now all of a sudden there's deadly bacteria that's just freaking, like, it lands on your skin, you die overnight. I mean, actually, the same thing with these mosquitoes. It's like you get bit, you die overnight. I mean, maybe this is the same freaking same thing. Maybe it wasn't the water that got people. Maybe it was mosquitoes because they are around water. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's just like, I don't know what to believe. I mean, it's not that I don't believe anything at all. It's just a lot of times it's just there's a lot of hype and misinformation, and most misinformation comes from mainstream sources. And you know, people on the street don't have a big enough pull or effect, sphere of influence to really, what is the word, disseminate disinformation. So it actually, the greatest place to disseminate bad information is in the mainstream. That's why, look, that's where that's coming from the Big Brother's mouth, the horse's mouth right there, buddy. That's straight from Big Brother. And you got to just see it that way. That's because that's what it is. If you don't really realize that, it's that's part of the great delusion. You know what I'm saying? That and it's the same thing. It's just like an abuser, man. Freaking, yeah, continue to lie to me and lie to me and lie to me and lie to me, and I just keep taking it. That's when you're a freaking like religious news watcher, man. I mean, there's some real stuff that comes out of there. It's kind of like that movie Training Day. He's like, you know, I know this news isn't real, and he's like, 90% of it's bullshit. But he goes, but it entertains me, and I mean, that is all that is entertainment. You can't watch that. If you watch that, you've definitely been misinformed. That's your misinformation disseminator. Uh, I mean, dude, just like, dude, even science books, dude, most of this stuff is coming from like the 1700s, dude. Disinformation, uh, disseminators, dude. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but that's the truth. Um, Another thing that's kind of like crazily going on right now, too, man, is this. I mean, something just totally like vibes me and my buzzer's going like that this something ain't right is that there's these freaking the drone attack in uh, Iran, and it's like, man, it is like any. I mean, how do you even know who did that? I mean, it's like you can't prove it because the only way to prove that is there is no way to prove it. Basically, I mean, this has already happened before on the day of infamy. That's exactly what happened. It was drone technology going on there, and so this is kind of like a repeating pattern, and it's the perfect plausible deniability thing because, dude, you could hire some nerd kid to do that, and they could just paint like whatever nation you want's colors on this drone and fly it into wherever you want, and just to start a fight. And there's no way for no one to really prove that it's legit because it's the perfect framing type of a weapon. And there's interest in a long-term war. War's profitable, so it's like, we also got Republicans in power right now, and anytime they're in power, when I was a kid growing up, anytime a Republican was elected, people would say, "Oh, we're about to go to war again," and look, and sure enough, we would. It's quite, uh, it's quite unfortunate, but it's the truth, and it's a racket, and it's it just is too much money to be made for these people for it to be like just legit. It's just this nothing ever happens just legit, just the way that it was presented to you. It don't happen that way, and it's funny because there's once again nothing new under the sun because it's like the Boston Tea Party is a false flag, and it says supposedly they dressed up as Indians and burned ships. Okay, they blew up an oil field like a tea ship, dude. It's the same freaking like it's ceremonial, like blowing up like burning a Viking ship with like dead virgins on it, dude. That's like, except these ain't even really virgins. They're just made up. It's made up. Kaiser Sose boogeymen, just John Doe's with uh, just a fake ID. You know what I'm saying? It's just a fake ID and a bunch of burn up junk, and it's just a prop in a play in a script, and it's like disarmor to me. You can trust me. Look, here's evidence. But you don't really never. You just see a pile of stuff. You don't really get to see anything. It was like a magician was like, he had this or this little rag dangling, and he went like this, and then he put the rag back up real quick. You seen that? You can trust us. That was my badge. Like you ever seen that movie where a fake cop flashes his badge real quick? I seen that on the movies. You know what I'm talking about? But anyway, it's like in the 70s, man, there's a movie called Mr. Untouchable. And through this whole thing, they're interviewing this guy. He's almost all blacked out like I am right now. Barely can see his face, the facial features. Who knows? I could be Mr. Untouchable. No, probably not. You know what I'm saying? Certainly not. Sorry about that. Just a joke. But anyway, this guy was in the 70s was like the king of the heroin, and then right now there's this war on. That was the original war on drugs. Was during this guy's era, and they were actually. It was this dude could guarantee the purest dope, and he said his dope was basically copywritten. I can't even mention the name; it's so copywritten, I guess. But you can look this up, Mister Untouchable. It's there's a film, a documentary about it, and it's quite interesting because it kind of is. It was what's going on now back then. Like there's this other one, Cocaine Cowboys. That was a good era kind of documentary crime uh, documentary. It was it kind of explains like this guy how they botched these guys getting prosecuted by some kind of sex scandal. But I mean, this happens all the time, man. The sex scandal is used as a methodology to smear a campaign and target somebody. But anyway, uh, back to the Mr. Untouchable thing. Basically, Nixon, and we all know how legit Nixon was. He was responsible for taking this guy out and making it the number one crime. Like as soon as they were talking about they were going after drugs, that means a shipment's coming in. People are dying everywhere. I just had someone, not that I was close with, but somebody that I know, their people just died of an overdose. Freaking, and it's like this fentanyl is mixed in with the heroin these days, and so you never know if it's pure, if it's medium, if it's and it makes the overdose like so uh like easy for people to overdose uh and it's almost done like weaponization of the dope. See that if you had what Mr. Untouchable was doing, people wouldn't be overdosing because they'd be doing the same thing every time. But and once again, because of this intentional leak of this stuff, that there's this alarmism going on, and it's to hide the fact that it's coming in from us. Because in that era, it was the Vietnam vets, not the vets themselves, but the higher ups that were responsible for back and forth transports was actually they were the ones that were bringing it in. That's the other thing about Cocaine Cowboys. These guys used to bring it in. And if you look who's bringing it in, where it's coming from, like right now we got war in the Middle East, and this is the most fertile heroin, golden triangle type, like primo. So, I mean, the stuff we should be getting, people shouldn't be dying, but obviously there's some kind of thing going on right now that it's being done intentionally. And it's, once again, these are just land grabs for the dope growing, for the best dope. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't go fight in Vietnam again. And they're like, man, look, dude. Now they got some good dope over there too, and that would really boost our stocks in the pharmaceutical and the freaking drug war industry. And look, we could really hit the jackpot right now with the freaking instability of the social climate, and because of all the depression, people use more drugs. I mean, this is how these people think, and this is really what they do. And it's kind of like the Phoenix program probably is the people who was bringing the dope back from Vietnam. Just I don't know that for sure, but just guessing, because they kind of had the MO for these low life type characters, that they give a badge or a 007 type license to kill or do whatever, and no one's gonna report it, no one's watching. So do whatever you got to do. We don't want to know about it. Just make sure that the agenda is accomplished by set date. Basically, and that's where they contract these subcons, these mercs, and they just do the dirty for the right price, and just no one ever really hears about it. But if you know where to look, it can be proven, and it's just a pattern